The Awakening, the Revised Edition by Lilac Moon. Chapter 26. A Spark of Hope. Vader knelt before his master, having just told him everything that had transpired, and he felt fear, for he could feel the waves of rage and anger rolling off the Emperor. So what you are telling me is that the Death Star, my prized weapon, was destroyed. And not just destroyed by anyone, but by Anakin Skywalker? A man who was supposed to have been dead for 18 years! Palpatine screamed, as his voice grew in volume. He roared in rage and poured force lightning into his apprentice, who writhed in tortured agony. Once he had ceased, Lord Vader's rhythmic breathing was shallow and laboured.
Master, I will make them pay for this. I will find them all and kill them,
Vader promised. You had better, Lord Vader, or your usefulness to me will become non-existent. Anakin Skywalker cannot be allowed to interfere with any more of my plans. You must kill him, that meddlesome woman, and any offspring they have. If you do not, everything we have worked for will be in ruin. Palpatine growled. He couldn't believe it. After everything he had gone through, from stealing the Skywalker embryo to have Vader created, to making sure Anakin was killed, may have all been for naught. They had been fooled into believing Skywalker and his wife were dead, when in reality they had been tucked away in an ageless coma while Anakin slowly recovered from his injuries. He had to make sure Anakin was eliminated this time, or his empire would crumble. He had made sure the HoloNet had not revealed that he was in fact alive, for that would only strengthen the resistance against him. But he knew people would find a way to spread the word, and Anakin would rise to challenge him again. That is, if he was not quickly hunted down and killed.
I will, my master. I will track them down and kill them. I have already commissioned a mandate for the most skilled bounty hunters in the galaxy. For the price I am offering, they will track down Skywalker and bring him and his family to me,
Vader promised. Let's hope you are right, and you do not fail me again. For if you do, the consequences will be dire, Palpatine promised. Vader's blood boiled.
Yes, my master,
he growled back. Jobel Naberi sniffed as tears slipped down her cheeks. She laid the flowers on the gravesite of her beloved husband, whom she had lost 5 years ago. Her eldest daughter Sola, also a widow, lay her own flowers down on her husband's grave. She had lost Darad 2 years ago in a construction accident. He had been visiting the local building sites on one of his newest buildings that was being constructed, when a stabilizing beam failed and the structure caved in. But tragedy was nothing new to the Naberi family, for Ryu put a bouquet of flowers on her Aunt Padme's grave as well. They all missed Padme terribly. Her abrupt death had also hit Rui hard, and she had never quite been the same since her death. They also put flowers on Anakin Skywalker's grave, Padme's secret husband, for he was laid to rest next to her. Jobel wasn't sure how she felt about the Jedi that had supposedly been her daughter's secret husband. In fact, she had experienced anger towards her late daughter for some time, wondering why Padme had hid her marriage from them, or why she had even gone and entered something as rash and foolish as a forbidden marriage. But she remembered the one time she had met Anakin Skywalker, and how she could tell how happy he made Padme, even if she had tried to hide any sort of attraction she had towards him. She supposed it was a beautiful, romantic story. She just wished it hadn't ended in such tragedy. But it had, and most of her family was gone now. She had Sola and Ryu left, along with Pooja too. But she had chosen to follow in her aunt's footsteps by serving as Naboo's senator in the Imperial Senate, much to Jobel's chagrin. Nevertheless, Jobel was proud of her conviction to serve her people, just as she had always been proud of Padme, even though it had led her to an early grave. Beneath the bedclothes, in the candle-lit bedroom, 2 lovers and soulmates lay entwined together, limbs tangled, bodies moving as one, and hearts beating together. He caressed her beautiful face and kissed her tenderly, as they lay bathing in the afterglow of their lovemaking.
I am the luckiest man in the galaxy, and I will never, ever take you for granted, Padme Skywalker,
he whispered to her. She smiled. I think I am the lucky one, my handsome husband, and I will never ever take you for granted either. You are my life. You and our kids, she whispered back. He smiled and kissed her again.
Well, hopefully, if I am on my game tonight, we'll soon be adding to our number of kids,
he said, making her smile brightly. She slid her arms around his neck. Oh, I have a good feeling about tonight. But even if this wasn't the exact time, we can always keep trying.
And trying,
he replied as he pinched her rear. And you are a hero, you know. I mean, you've always been my hero, but you're a hero to the entire Alliance now, she mentioned with pride.
I was just doing what needed to be done. I had to keep them from destroying us. We just got a second chance at life and a family. So there was no way I was going to let them steal that away again,
Anakin replied. Where are we going to go now? At least until the new base is operational, she asked. He shook his head.
We're not sure yet. Obi-Wan and I are going to scout out a place tomorrow. But I was thinking maybe we should hire Han and Chewie to transport us. It's a far ship,
Anakin said. He seems like a good guy, when he's not trying to be Mr. Tough Guy, Padme replied. Anakin nodded.
He is, and I think he needs a break. He owes money to the Hutts, and that can get you killed,
Anakin said as he kissed her hair.
But it doesn't matter where we go, because I'm going to protect us and take care of us, no matter where we end up,
Anakin told her. She cuddled atop his chest. I know. I don't care where we are, as long as we're all together, she replied. He nodded.
We will be, Angel. I love you so much,
he said. She smiled. And I you, my love, she replied as they slowly fell asleep entwined in each other's arms. The next morning, Padme padded into the kitchen and began preparing a fresh pot of calf. Anakin was already up, training with Luke, but they would soon be in and starving for breakfast. She got some fruit out from the refrigeration unit just as Leia came in. Morning, Mum, she said. Padme smiled and poured her daughter a cup of calf. Morning, sweetie, Padme replied as they sat down on the table and sipped at their hot liquid. Leia turned to her datapad and began reading the news. The media was very tightly controlled by the Empire, and nothing negative about the Empire was ever reported. Only negative and malicious things about the disruptive rebellion. She could only imagine what salacious things were being said. Wow, Leia said. Is it bad? Padme asked.
It's about what I expected. They've denounced the rebellion and all conspirators, promising that they will be hunted down by the most ruthless bounty hunters and brought to justice.
But I thought they would mention that it was Daddy who was destroying the Death Star. But there's no mention of him or Luke.
I'm relieved, she replied.
Padme nodded. Your father suspected the Emperor would want to keep the fact that he's alive a secret. Despite the fact that the media would be ordered to denounce him, a story that Anakin Skywalker was actually alive and well would only inspire hope in people and strengthen the rebellion, Padme said.
And that's exactly what Palpatine doesn't want, Leia said.
Padme nodded. As Anakin and Luke came in. Hey, handsome, Padme greeted as he leaned down and kissed her softly.
Hey yourself, beautiful,
he replied as he handed her a small sack. What's this? She asked.
Look inside, he replied,
and she opened it and gasped. Where did you get cloudberries? Padme asked. They were one of her favourite Nabooan fruits, next to Shura, but she had learned that the Empire tightly controlled the export and import channels on Naboo, for it was the Emperor's home planet, and had much of the food source channeled to Coruscant to support the many feasts in his honour that Palpatine often held for his regime.
They were in the last shipment of food we got. Someone managed to get some, I guess,
Anakin replied as she hugged him. What are cloudberries? Luke asked. Only the most delicious berry you will ever taste, and you're about to find out, because I'm going to make my famous cloudberry pancakes, Padme said as she began moving around the kitchen. Anakin grinned widely. He loved seeing her so happy. He lived for it.
Let's go. The Empire knows we're here now. We have to move on. For those of you not going straight to begin into the construction on the new base, you have your new places assigned that you'll be hiding out in until the new base on Hoth is finished.
Anakin called to everyone as the docking bay bustled with activity. Everyone was being gathered and packed away and transported, and ships were slowly leaving with passengers.
He's quite a leader. This ragtag group of men and women pilots are inspired by him,
General Tadona mentioned to Obi-Wan. The aging Jedi nodded.
Yes, it is good to have my old Padawan back. Things feel right again.
Obi-Wan replied.
Have both of you decided where you will take your families for the time being, until the base is ready?
The General asked.
I believe I found a suitable place, but I have still to discuss it with Anakin. Once we arrive, I will contact you through an encrypted signal, so you may reach us when it is time to come to the base.
Obi-Wan replied. The General nodded.
May the Force be with you and yours, Master Jedi,
the General said respectfully, as he went to tend to a few final tasks.
Well, I think that's it. Now we just have to decide where we're going.
Anakin said.
I think I may have figured that out, but I just need to run it by you.
Obi-Wan replied, as they approached the nearest console. Obi-Wan brought up a schematic view of the Outer Rim.
Outer Rim patrols are tightening. They must be expecting us to travel further past Yavin 4.
Anakin said.
Yes, so that's exactly what we shouldn't do. They're going to be looking for us. Unfortunately, I have heard that Vader has put quite a price on your head,
Obi-Wan said quietly. Anakin sighed.
I figured as much. So that means we have to do everything possible to protect our families. Where do you suggest?
He said. Obi-Wan smiled.
Well, because patrols in the Outer Rim are tightening, patrols in the Mid-Rim have slackened,
Obi-Wan replied. Anakin looked at him.
You mean Naboo?
He asked, hope in his voice. Obi-Wan nodded.
We can't go anywhere near Theed, but if we were to come in on the other side of the planet, we could make our way to the Lake Country that we've heard so much about. From what you've told me, it's very secluded,
Obi-Wan said.
Anakin nodded. Very. Usually you have to go there by water, but the Millennium Falcon is a small enough ship to fit in the small ship garage in Verino.
Anakin said.
Then I believe that will be our best option, but we need to leave soon. We have a small window of opportunity,
Obi-Wan said. Anakin smiled.
Padme is going to be so happy,
he said. Obi-Wan smiled.
Then go and get your family. I'll get mine and brief Captain Solo on this situation. I assume he has been paid in advance?
Obi-Wan asked. Anakin smirked.
Oh yes, Padme took care of that. You should have seen the look on his face when she offered him triple the amount he was paid for the first time. She told him no price was too high for the safety of her family,
Anakin said. Obi-Wan smiled.
That should be enough to settle his debt with Jabba,
Obi-Wan said. Anakin nodded.
Yeah, let's just hope he pays him off and then he gets out while he's still alive,
Anakin replied, as he went to tell Padme the good news. Looks like that's everything, Mum, Luke said as he put the travel cases down. Chewie took them and put them in the floor panels of the Falcon for storage. Good, now we just have to wait to find out where we're going to be going for the next few months, Padme replied.
You would be welcome back on my home planet. It has been deemed safe for many of us, including Mon Mothma are going as well,
Rosh said as he approached. Padme turned to him.
Your family too, of course,
he added quickly as Luke glared at him. That won't be necessary, Senator. I've chosen a different place for us, Anakin said as he approached as well. Rosh shrank away from Anakin's icy gaze.
Very well. I will see you in a few months, then. Safe trip,
Rosh said. So you found a place for us? Padme asked, watching a grin spread across his face.
Have I ever,
he replied. Well then, don't keep me in suspense, she said.
We're going home, Padme,
he told her. She looked at him with hope in her eyes. Home? As in the Lake Country home? She asked.
He smiled and nodded. Patrols in the Mid-Rim have slackened for a short time. We have a small window, but Obi-Wan and I think the Lake Country is the perfect secluded place. No one will suspect it.
he replied. Padme leapt into his arms and he spun her around. He chuckled as she planted kisses all over his face. Then he gently set her on her feet again. So we're going to your home planet? Luke asked. Padme nodded. What's it like there? Luke asked, and Anakin smiled.
Let me just put it like this. It's the exact opposite of Tatooine,
Anakin told him. Luke smiled. Then I'm sure I'm going to love it, Luke said.
You both will. We're finally going to the place where you were supposed to be born, and where you were supposed to grow up. We'll be a real family,
Anakin said as he smiled at his wife. I think we already are, Leia replied as she put her arm around her father, as Luke stood on the other side with his arm around his mother. I think you're right, Padme added. Several hours later. The stormtroopers filed through the empty base on Yavin 4 and searched for anyone or anything left behind. But there was no one, and all consoles had been wiped of any information.
Commander Cody, we were too late, one of them reported. Scour the entire perimeters just to be sure. Lord Vader won't be pleased,
Cody replied as he looked around. He had been serving his Emperor loyally for years, carrying out every order to the letter. But his fervour had been renewed when he discovered that the Anakin Skywalker was still alive. He knew Rex, his traitorous brother, was with them, and he sought to find him to make him pay for his betrayal.
I will find you, brother, and your accomplices. You'll regret the day you turned against your own for those Jedi,
Cody said quietly as he joined in the search. They landed in the small port town of Valencia in the middle of the afternoon and found the nearest docking bay for a space rental. Padme paid the owner for a private holding bay for the Millennium Falcon before they headed to the marina, where they rented a private ferry and told the pilot they were heading for Verino. He was a little surprised at first, since no one had asked to go there in a very long time. Anakin kept close tabs on the man's emotions, and while he didn't seem evil, he would make sure that he didn't remember them once they dropped him off. But for now, he enjoyed holding his wife in his arms and watching the wonder on his son's face. He had been the same way the very first time he had come here. I've never seen so much water before, and everything's so green, Luke said. Anakin chuckled.
Yeah, and the sand on the beaches is actually soft, not coarse like Tatooine's. Not to mention it doesn't get ridiculously hot here either,
Anakin said. It looks like it's clouding over though. It might storm tonight, Padme mentioned. Wow, real rain. I'm definitely not on Tatooine anymore, Luke said, as the ocean breeze wafted around them, and the smell of the ocean filled their nostrils. It's just around this bend, Padme told them, as they slowly came about, and the magnificent Verino came into view.
Welcome home, Angel,
Anakin told her. Wow! This is your house, Mum? Luke asked. Padme nodded. Yes, that's our home, Padme replied, looking at her husband and kids. It looks like a castle, Luke exclaimed. Anakin chuckled.
That's what I thought when I first saw it too. But your mum is right. This is our home. This is the place where you and Leia were supposed to grow up. But even if things didn't work out that way, it's still always going to be our family home,
Anakin said. It's beautiful, Leia said, sharing a smile with her parents and brother. It truly is. I, for one, don't miss the heat of that blasted desert one bit, Satine said, as she stood next to Obi-Wan, who was holding Annie, as she stared at the water with wide eyes. It was her first time experiencing it as well. She saw a fish jump out of the water and gasped in excitement. Daddy, did you see that fish? She asked. He smiled at her.
I did. Maybe tomorrow Mummy and I can take you swimming,
Ben told her. Really? Can we, Mummy? She asked. Satine smiled. Sure, sweetheart, she replied. So, this is the place? Ahsoka asked as she stood next to Anakin. He nodded as Padme cuddled closer to his chest.
Yep. This is where we fell in love and got married,
Anakin replied, as he saw Rex reading something on his datapad. He left Padme's side and walked over to him.
What's the news?
Anakin asked.
The real news or the garbage the media has been instructed to tell the masses?
Rex quipped.
The truth. and don't hold back,"
Anakin replied. Rex looked to see if Padme was listening, and fortunately she was talking with her kids and Ahsoka.
"Vader put a 5 million bounty on your heads, and 1 million for any one of us they can manage to get. He knows that if one of us is captured, then you'll likely come to the rescue. He has made it very clear that he wants you alive,"
Rex said. Anakin nodded.
"It's about as bad as I expected, but we should be surprisingly safe here for a few months at least. We'll have to be extra careful when we travel to the marketplace for food, but we should be fine until the new base is complete,"
Anakin said.
"I hope you're right, but we need to be prepared to escape at a moment's notice if we have to,"
he replied. Anakin nodded.
"Don't worry. I'm not going to let anyone hurt my family. Unfortunately, staying hidden isn't going to be our only challenge while we're here,"
Anakin said. Rex's brow furrowed.
"What do you mean?"
he asked.
"Padme's already worried about it, but we'll need to reveal ourselves to our family. She's worried they're going to react badly at first,"
Anakin said. Rex nodded.
"Maybe, but once they get past the shock and even anger, they'll be incredibly happy,"
Rex assured him. Anakin nodded.
"You're right," he said,
as the ferry began to slow as it neared the dock. They unloaded from the ferry and began trekking up to the house with their luggage. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. I did, but there's not much really to comment on. I like that they're going back there though, and they're tapping into the Nabooan origins of the Skywalker side of the family. I love that. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.